Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another live stream of the Game Bet Match podcast. I'm your host, Manny Friedman, and just wanted to go over the first day of day four of round four action. That the bottom half of the draw. Today was one of my best days betting ever. Incredible day. Every bet that I put out there on the timeline yesterday cashed. Um, it would have been perfect had Munar beat Chilich. I got him at plus 200. It was a live bet. I thought, if he made the match physical, he would be able to come out on top there. But Chilich was a little too strong. He is the better grass court player, has more weapons. So, it was a plus 200 shot there, but everything else cashed. Incredible day. Haven't done my stats yet, but it has to be plus 25 units or so. Just incredible. So I'm really hoping to keep the positive momentum going. Hopefully, people tail, but tail cautiously because I rarely have two good days in a row. Usually after a fantastic day, the next day is not so hot. So hoping to break that trend tomorrow. But without further ado, I want to get into the matches. So the first one is Kachanov versus Majerok. Um, I'm on Kachanov here, minus 1.5 sets. I feel like most people are on Majerok plus the games. Um, they're kind of taking the narrative that Kachanov tends to struggle, winning easily. I mean, which is all true. Kachanov did struggle against Borges, 1 1/5 set breaker. I believe he also won 5 sets against Mochizuki. So not the most convincing run here from Karen Kachanov. But that being said, I don't mind a Majerok fade here. Had Majerok not beaten Berrettini or not had this decent run himself, I do think that Kachanov would be more than a bigger favorite than he is now. He is currently, let's see, a minus 260 favorite on Bovada. Only a 4.5 game favorite. I have a feeling like had this match been in the first round, Kachanov would probably be a 6.5, 7 game favorite here. So I think it's a slight overcorrection. I'm not buying too much into Majerok's run here. Obviously, the Berrettini match was good, but and he won as a big dog. But that being said, Berrettini hasn't been healthy. So not taking too much stock into that. I think the Rinderknecht match was more due to Rinderknecht fatigue, playing 5 sets, and I think he played all 4 days because prior to that because his matches were postponed due to darkness and stuff. So and the curfew with the Zverev, and that was an emotional draining match. So like I think there's an overcorrection here. That being said, I'd be surprised if Majerok doesn't win a set. So, I'm going to be sweating probably with a minus 1.5. But I also think that Kachanov is the way better player. He has more weapons. Um, he has the bigger serve. So the match should be dictated by him. And um, I would say if you want to be more aggressive, I think a Kachanov 3-1 line might be enticing. But the fact that I'm only laying a little bit of juice and getting the minus 120 on the minus 1.5 sets, I think I'm going to go there. And it's a fairly large stake. It's probably my second or third favorite bet on the board. So the next match I want to discuss is Cam Norrie against Nico Yari. I posted this on the 3 breakpoints feed. It's my bet of the day. I like Norrie here at minus 125. I'm actually surprised the line hasn't moved. I got it early, probably around noon Eastern time today, and it was minus 125. The line has actually moved in the other way. Norrie's currently minus 120, only 5 cents, so not much line movement. I think this is a fantastic matchup for Cam Norrie. Norrie is a guy that loves pace. He loves redirecting pace. He uses opponents' pace to his advantage because he doesn't have much firepower himself. So Nico Yari is a guy that doesn't have much variation. He has a big serve, big forehand, but he doesn't really have variation to his game. He doesn't have nuance to his game. He's not a guy that's going to outmaneuver Nori. So I think any rally that um, occurs in this match favors Nori. It's only a question: can Nori get enough good returns in play? Can he get that ball deep? Can he start rallies? Can he make the match tactical? Um, if he's able to do that, I really like him in this matchup. So stylistically, I think that this is a fantastic match for Nori. Also, another thing with Yari is I think there is a slight correction with him as well. He's been awful prior to Wimbledon, and have we not had these 6 matches where he's qualified and won 3 main draw matches against pretty good opposition in like Holger Rune and João Fonseca? I think he would be a pretty sizable dog here. So I don't like taking previous matches too much into consideration. I kind of want to look more at the body of work and see. I think that the market is kind of overreacting a little bit to what they've seen this week. Um, so the overcorrection angle plus the matchup angle is really siding me towards Nori, and I make this playable to -150 or so. Um, so that's my favorite play of the day. It's on the 3 breakpoints platform. My logic is also posted there. It's been a 3-0 start for me on that page. So hope to keep it going. Next match I want to talk about is Taylor Fritz against Jordan Thompson. So Thompson did get him on the grass last year in Queens, I believe, and it was a pretty straightforward match. Thompson does have a good grass court game. Decent serve, likes coming in, has kind of like flat ground strokes, is comfortable moving on the surface. His health is kind of a question mark. Like he keeps hinting that he's not healthy, but he played 2.5 hours of doubles, and he continues to get maneuver his way through the draw. So, and he seems fine. He played a tough 5-setter in the second round against Bonsai. And he's always kind of been a scrapper, a battler, and this week has been no exception with that with Jordan Thompson. Moving on to Fritz, I think Fritz is obviously the better player here. It's just he struggles to win by margin. Even against Fokina, he kind of had a hiccup in that third set tiebreak. He was a much better player and found his game again in the fourth. But I just think Thompson is going to be able to generate some holds here. He's going to make sets competitive with his kind of sneaky defense, his weird defense, as Brad and I like to call it. He's going to kind of try to make this more of a chess match instead of a ball striking match. And if he does that, he should have some success here. My favorite line is the Fritz to win 3-1. You get the standard plus 225, plus 230. But I do think Fritz is going to win just because Thompson lacks the firepower. But I do think he's going to be competitive here. I do think he's going to find a way to sneak out a set in a tiebreak. Fritz is quite one-dimensional. He kind of only has that ball striking game. He struggles with, moving forward. And, if Thompson makes it a cat and mouse kind of match, I think he's going to have trouble with that pattern of play. So I do think Thompson is good for a set, but at the end of the day, it's more about ball striking, service advantage, and all that. Like the X's, the meat and potatoes tennis is what's going to get Fritz over the line here. So I do like the 3-1. I also like both players to break in the first set at plus 300. To me, it's a price play. If it was like plus 180 or plus 200, I probably wouldn't hit it. But the fact that you're getting 3-1 on Thompson, who can extend points, and Fritz, who is the better ball striker. And neither guy has like a massive serve. It's not like they're playing Pericard or Opelka. So I do think both guys to break in the first set is a look here at 3-1, and that prop is on Bovada. Finally, the Alcaraz Rublev match on center court later in the day. I believe it's third on after two women's matches. I'm laying games with Alcaraz at -6.5 here. I think that we always talk about Alcaraz's struggles winning by margin, and he's always live to lose a set, and um, loses concentration, but is so much better than his opponent. Yada yada yada. The narratives are true, but I actually think Struff was I believe an 8-game dog, or I think it closed at 7 or 7.5. I actually think Struff is more dangerous for Alcaraz than Rublev is. The fact that Rublev doesn't come forward, stays back all the time, Alcaraz doesn't have to worry about him being uber aggressive on return and coming in on it. And that was a big part of that Struff match. Alcaraz kind of made that adjustment after losing the second set by kind of taking the net away from Struff. And that's something Rublev isn't going to do. And it's impossible to hit through Alcaraz just because of how amazing his defense is. So I think this is a really good matchup for Alcaraz on the surface. Plus, Alcaraz can utilize drop shots and draw him in, which Rublev is just so uncomfortable doing. And from gripping and ripping from the baseline, Alcaraz is better at that too, even though that's the only thing Rublev is able to do. And Rublev doesn't, he has a good serve, but his serve is predicated on the serve +1. And if Alcaraz can defend that and extend the points, I just think it's a really, really big uphill battle for Rublev. So Rublev kind of gets the benefit from the market. He's a 6.5 game favorite just because I think he has a higher pedigree than Struff, obviously. But I actually think Struff is a tougher matchup for Alcaraz than Rublev. So just comparatively speaking, if you compare the two lines, I actually think Alcaraz should have been a 6.5 game favorite against Struff, and I think Alcaraz should be about like a 7.5 to 8 game favorite against Rublev. Kind of counter. It's a counterintuitive thought process, but matchup wise, I think that's kind of where I land. So and I also like both guys to break in set one at +275. It's a smaller play for me, but Alcaraz's serving hasn't been fantastic. He's faced a lot of break points in each of his 3 matches. So I think if Rublev can connect on a couple big on a couple returns and force a break, kind of get a lull, find a small Alcaraz lull, that's very possible. And obviously, I think Alcaraz is going to be live to break Rublev multiple times in this match. So those are my 2 looks in that match. So just a summary, I'm laying the 1.5 sets with Kachanov against Majorak. I am playing the Fritz 3-1 and both guys to break in set 1 at +300. In the Nori match or Nori Yari match, I'm playing the Yari money line. I got -125, but I think it's great at -120, obviously. And I make that playable to -150. Laying games is a little risky just due to Yari's serve, but at current prices, I think the Nori money line is definitely a good look. And I'm also playing Alcaraz and Rublev to break in set 1, and I'm laying the 6.5 with Carlitos. So those are my plays. Hopefully we can do a pod, and hopefully we can include Brad in the mix as well. We'll see if we got some GBM plays and popcorn tennis, and exciting times. Hopefully we keep the positive momentum going. I don't think a day like yesterday is going to happen often, but if it does, that's wonderful. So thanks, everyone. The engagement has been phenomenal, and let's keep it going. Thanks again. Have a great night, everyone.